Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings Podcast. If you've ever traced your family history, you've probably encountered a frustrating gap in the records, the missing 1890 census. Unlike other census years, which provide a continuous timeline of American households, the 1890 records are nearly non-existent. For genealogists, it's a black hole, a crucial moment in history that has all but disappeared. So, what happened? Was it just an accident? Could there have been something within those records that someone wanted erased? And why does Warren G. Harding's name get caught up in the mystery? The 1890 census wasn't just another population count. It was the first to use punch card technology, a major step toward faster data processing. The information it contained was also richer than previous surveys, asking about how long a person had been married, how many children were born in the household, and how many were still living. Whether someone was a Civil War veteran or widow, it also officially confirmed what many had already recognized. The American frontier had closed. The Census Bureau declared that the once expanding Western territories had been settled enough that there was no longer a clear distinction between developed and undeveloped land. This was a historic turning point for the country, one that researchers would later struggle to study because, just a few decades later, the census was gone. On January 10, 1921, a fire broke out in the basement of the Commerce Building in Washington, D.C., where the 1890 census was stored. By the time it was extinguished, about 25% of the records were completely destroyed, and another 50% had significant fire, smoke, and water damage. Here's where things get frustrating. Despite reports that nearly half of the census might still be usable, nothing was done to preserve it. The damaged records sat in storage, forgotten for over a decade. By 1933, officials deemed them unsalvageable and ordered them destroyed, sealing the loss forever. In the end, it wasn't just the fire that erased the 1890 census, it was government neglect. One of the stranger claims surrounding the 1890 census is that it was intentionally destroyed to cover up information about Warren G. Harding. Harding became president in March 1921, 2 months after the fire. So why do some believe he had something to do with it? The answer lies in rumors about his ancestry. During his lifetime, political opponents spread claims that Harding had African American ancestry. At the time, this was used by some as a way to attack his character, even though the claims were never substantiated. Harding himself refused to entertain the debate, once remarking, "One of my ancestors may have jumped the fence." The idea behind the conspiracy is that the 1890 census contained evidence of Harding's racial background, and that someone made sure it disappeared. But this theory falls apart quickly. If such information existed, it likely would have also appeared in the 1870 and 1880 censuses, which are still available today. The fire happened before Harding even took office, and the records weren't officially discarded until long after his death. It's an intriguing idea, but there's no proof to support it. The loss of the 1890 census was almost certainly a case of mismanagement, not a political cover-up. The loss of the 1890 census left a huge gap in American history. Unlike previous censuses, it had more detailed family information, particularly valuable for people researching immigrants, Civil War veterans, and families who moved westward in the late 19th century. A few fragments survived, amounting to just 6,160 names, from areas including parts of Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, South Dakota, Texas, and Washington, D.C. For most researchers, these small pieces of data are not enough to reconstruct lost family histories. Since the 1890 census no longer exists, genealogists rely on alternative records to fill the gap. Some of the best sources include state censuses, some states conducted their own around this time, city directories, which often listed heads of households, voter registration records, Civil War pension records, helpful for identifying veterans and their families, tax and land records. obituaries and newspaper archives. These sources don't fully replace what was lost, but they can help reconstruct family timelines that would have otherwise vanished. The loss of the 1890 census stands as one of the biggest preservation failures in U.S. history. If officials had acted sooner, much of it might have been saved. Since then, archives have adopted stricter record-keeping and backup systems to prevent similar losses. Today, census records are digitized, stored in multiple locations, and backed up across different formats to ensure they won't suffer the same fate. The missing 1890 census is a frustrating setback for family historians, but it was not the result of a cover-up, just a tragic mix of fire, poor storage, and government neglect. While alternative records help fill in the blanks, the census remains an irreplaceable piece of history that was lost before its true value was understood. For those digging into their past, this missing piece is a reminder. When records survive, they matter more than we realize. Thank you for tuning into the Ancestral Findings podcast. Be sure to visit ancestralfindings.com to grab your free genealogy ebook. Ask for a complimentary genealogy lookup, and sign up for our weekly historical postcard giveaway. A special thanks to our Patreon supporters. Your contributions help to anchor our family tree firmly in the ground, allow our lineage to fly high, and keep our journey through history on the right path. Wishing you a fantastic day and happy searching.